sit back and imagine for a minute. You're out with your friends. You're enjoying a few drinks at your favorite spot. When all of a sudden, the 1 or 2 drinks you've had begins to feel like you've had 10. And then all of a sudden, you're dizzy, you're nauseous, and your ability to think, to talk, to act, your ability to ask for help has been stripped from you. You've been drugged. This is a prime example of a drug-facilitated crime, or DFC. Specifically, it's when a drug is administered to a person to incapacitate them, for another individual to take advantage of them, whether it's of sexual nature or not. So the question is, now what? Victims of these kinds of crimes generally feel the effects of these drugs long after they've been administered. And there are other side effects and symptoms that they can feel days after. So imagine waking up after this blackout, you're still tired and you're nauseous for days. So by the time you have gained the strength and the courage to report what has happened to you, there is a very good chance that the drug is out of your system. So reporting time for these kinds of crimes is crucial. It's so important because very little amounts of these drugs has to be administered to a person for them to feel the effects because they are so strong. As well, they leave the system very quickly. So it's very important that the crimes get reported as soon as possible. But when these victims are feeling these effects for long after, they may not be able to. So in forensics labs right now, they have methods to see these drugs and to see their products, because when someone ingests a drug, it reaches a maximum level, as you can see on the graph right here. And eventually it begins to decrease after the maximum. And during that decreasing time, it creates products. But if it reaches a point below this limit, when they report it, it cannot be detected. And that's very, very important to have that confirmation. So when methods that are used in labs right now can't do that, it's a problem. My research is a solution. So I am working towards a method, and I have developed a method to detect these kinds of drugs and some of their products below the limit of where the methods that are currently used in forensics labs right now are. And I'm also working to pair a technique to isolate these drugs out of samples and pair it with the method that I've already developed, and I'll be able to further push this limit down, the ideal method, to where it needs to be. So it can be days after a crime happens to a person and they report it, and these drugs can still be seen within their blood when it's taken and it's analyzed. So why is my method so important? Why is it so wonderful? I'm going to call it wonderful because it is. It can detect multiple drugs and their products at one time in a very short amount of time. And it's very, very important that that can be done because it's much more efficient. Thank you.